Welcome to After Hours Conversations with Veronica. I am honored to have Amanda Alexandrakis from Music Promotion Inc. being featured tonight. I'm so excited that she is with us. As you know, we are going to be talking about project management and how that fits into her role. And you also know that I only talk to fantastic people because that's what I do. That is my jam. But welcome, Amanda. I am so happy that you're able to be with us tonight.
Well, me too. Thank you very much for having me, Veronica.
Oh, you're welcome. You're welcome. Now, I've known you. Should I age myself? Should I lean in? Does everyone see my gray? Okay. So I have known Amanda for, I will say, over 20 years because I feel confident and comfortable limiting it to 20. So I will say well over 20 years. And we have focused in on our journeys. And this is our first opportunity to actually share with you all of the greatness that she has been doing over the years. So my very first piece is, please, Amanda, tell us more about you and Music Promotion Inc.
Well, thank you, Veronica. Actually, I am going to age us, and I'm going to put it out there that it's 30 years. So there's that. We've known each other, watched each other grow up, and you've seen, I started with music pretty early, not as a musician, but I started working, managing, or you could call it management, but that's probably the easiest way to explain what it was I was doing. A lot of promotion. I started my first promotion, my official paid promotion job when I was 18 years old, with some local artists who were where we were at the time. And that turned into an entire career. So since then, I've had started my first company when I was 20 years old, and has continued to build and went from statewide to regional to national and international now.
I love that. And it's so exciting because, for the most part, I have seen it from the other side, right? I'm only witnessing the after effect of the greatness that you do on a daily basis. But this is a little bit different. Our conversation is going to shift because the main reason why you were able to get to this place is because you've been running projects ever since you were 18. Now, I would love to know, did you call it projects? What did you say that you were doing all this time?
Well, that's why, when I first introduced myself, I said, managing. It really wasn't managing. And it's funny because just recently in our conversations that we've had, have I realized that I do actually do project management. It wasn't something I ever really put a name to for a long time. So I guess I've always been doing it in different capacities. So, first it would be managing one part of a bigger project, and now I manage the bigger project, and it's taken different forms, and it's funny, we call I still don't call myself a project manager. I might say I do some campaign management, or I will never say artist management, but no, but there's it does fit in the scope of what you're doing, and it's funny that I just never really thought about it that way.
hmm And since you have so many artists that you work with different projects, and you also have a team,
Hmm.
so I'm about to elevate your status. You're actually a program manager.
Mm.
So with all of the things that you do, all of the different projects, all of the different people who have different segments, and the fact that you have different people over different initiatives, and you're over all of that, you're actually a program manager.
Very interesting.
I
Well,
have elevated your status.
well, thank you. I didn't even think
So
my
when it
role.
comes to your pieces, Um, would you say that now that you know that you're actually running things, is there an order of operations that you go to? Because knowing you the way that I do, you don't wing anything. So have you created a system for yourself so that you know that you haven't missed anything?
Well, it depends. Again, my role is different for every project. Sometimes my role is a lot smaller. Although when I take those smaller roles, that usually means that I am not necessarily managing the overall project that I'm hired to work with. But then I do have teams that for my section that we're hired for, that I have teams that I manage. And then there are other times where where they say, hey, you need to run the whole thing. And that's where it gets a little more complicated. And then, of course, I have those teams in there. So my role, and I kind of take it as not picking the brain, but they have more access to my brain when I'm doing those roles, which, they're siphoning onto my 25 years plus experience in the business where I don't make that available to the smaller projects because it's hard work. And so to answer your question, is there an organized way that I do it? Yes, but it's not a written down, we're not check marking things off of a list because everything that we do in the music business, there isn't a one size fits all. And so while we do have certain things that are industry standard, um, those type of things, then yes, we oversee those, but a lot of it is creative. And so we have to sit down and come up with new ideas every time.
I love that. I love that. Now, so let's just say you were to say, yes, I embrace the fact that I'm running projects. Would I get to lift lift the rug a bit and say that we in the certified world, one size doesn't fit all here either.
Mm,
We actually think of ourselves more like the maestro, and then we have the orchestra.
I like The Godfather with the puppets.
Yes, but everyone gets to live. Everyone gets to live. But when you were saying that you have different things that you have to do, and you
Mhm,
do tailor it to whatever project you happen to be on,
mhm.
but I have secret intel. I know that you've done a work breakdown structure before.
Yeah, I think
I
I have.
know it. And
And I didn't have a name for it. See, every time I do something like that, you come back to me and you're like, "Hey, that's a really nice dot dot dot," and I'm like, "Oh, I didn't realize I was doing that, but cool."
yeah, because that's what we use to get all the ideas out.
And that's where my role, with what I've always been good at is I develop campaigns, I develop things. So that goes back to my training where I'm looking for practical ways to organize and keep things moving forward. And you're more trained in that world. I'm trained in marketing, I'm trained in business, but I was never trained as a project manager per se. And so it's funny how those two worlds seem to be overlapping naturally just based on what some of the common sense is as to what you need to keep a project moving forward and to be effective.
Now, since common sense, right? But of course, on the other side, someone once said common sense isn't common. So, albeit not everyone has it, but the excellent people do. And since the excellent people do, when you're working with other people, do you let them be excellent too? Or are you looking for perfection on their sides, right? So when we're in this role, we have options, and there's different types of management style, right? There is the more autocratic. I told you to do this, do this. If you had an opinion, I will give that to you. There is the more democratic way, right? Where we are going to brainstorm things and maybe put together that work breakdown structure that we were talking about. Or it could be, I'm sure you're fantastic. That's why I hired you. Whatever you think is best. So if you have those three ways of being, are you more on the autocratic, do it the way I told you to? Or are you more on the let's figure out what the best way is to do it, document that and kind of test it out and see if that works for the client?
Well, it's funny. It's kind of a hybrid between some of those because, first of all, I don't hire people to come in to learn to do the job. The people that I bring into my teams are top professionals. I tend to subcontract, and I have partnerships and arranged deals with people where I develop and I create certain campaigns, but there's only one of me. I can't be there has to be more people. And so back when I first started in my early 20s, I had an office and I had employees. And what happened was is I became an office manager, which I hated. And that wasn't where I was. People who were hiring my company wanted me to be running things. And I didn't have time to run things because I was too busy making sure the office is running properly and making sure that everything's going well. I did not like that. And so what I did is I pulled back, and I started working on, okay, I know what needs to be done, but I'm not going to go to the people that are looking to be in my office all the time. I want people that are on the front lines all the time. I want people who are in the now. And so being that I was able over years to become a leader in my industry, I was friends with other leaders in with other companies. And so what I do is I create campaigns, and depending on the project and which is the best fit, I go to those promoters, and it's more times than not campaigns that I have created, and they're close to it. And then they do special things for my records and my clients. And so I work with people who get results, and I don't have to micromanage. I already know what to expect, and I don't need to have a lot of those conversations at that point, which I love because it's terrible. I don't care how they do it, just do it. Just get I'm very results driven, and I don't like excuses. I don't want to hear whatever happened. I don't care. I mean, I care, but I mean, for the clients, nobody wants excuses. And so, if it takes them 1 minute to get it done, great. I'm not going to say go keep yourself busy for a week's worth that I paid you. Just get the result. I'm paying for a result. So very results driven is the way that I do things.
Understood,
I
understood.
would say I
And I'm sorry, please continue.
Oh, I was going to say the one thing that I find more challenging though are my clients is going to their style, and everybody is different. So there's people that like to try to micromanage what I'm doing, and those are tough ones. And there are ones too who go too far away, and I can't seem to get them involved to get answers and approvals and things that we need to do. So that's way more challenging to me, is dealing with the clientele's expectations than it is for me to deal with my teams and getting results from them.
Understood,
Mhm.
understood. Now that being said, and I don't know if our viewers can see the fantabulousness that you have
Mhm.
on your back wall.
Ah,
But you do have some fantastic things back there, and there are reasons. There are reasons why you were able to have those in our view. And for those that can't see it really good, there's a couple of Grammy plaques back there, which are absolutely beautiful.
they're high up there. They're
I
up there.
love it. I love it. So you are a leader in your industry.
Right, which is music marketing, music promotion. I think so. Yeah.
I would agree.
Worked a long time.
That being said, you weren't always that way. Can you think of something that you did while you were leading something? Someone came and either hired you for it, or you said, I believe that this is something that I need to be doing for my business. And it didn't turn out the way that you thought it should have. Has that ever happened, or has things been pretty smooth sailing up until
It's
this?
been pretty smooth sailing for me. I my mentality has been the same since I was a teenager. I've always been one of those people that just go and get it, and I've been really, I guess, been really lucky in the sense that my projects have done really well. Um, I've 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 done well, and I think it's because I don't let I don't let excuses go by. If I'm sick and I don't feel good, I still get on the phone and I do what has to be done. I don't call a client and say, "Well, I wasn't feeling good, I didn't get this done." I get it done, and so I've never let anything like that slide, and I know that that's a unique quality. I didn't know it was a unique quality when I was younger, but it's just the way it's always been, and we set certain goals for certain projects, and I can truly say we've never not accomplished that goal ever. Like, I've never in my whole career, never had to call clients and I'm really sorry we didn't. Nope. So I think with there is a learning process in ways. I think the most challenging thing is dealing with humans, which I think project management a lot of times is. And I think I should have an honorary degree in psychology or something because you have to really learn. And I can tell in one conversation now what type of client this person is going to be usually. And I mean, I really can. I can tell what's going to fit them, what the end goal should be. I can sense this so quickly now, just by even keywords that they say in an email. I get a sense of what to do with these projects and what's going to make people happy. And that's just from experience. I don't know that you can ever teach that, but the experience of, okay, if somebody uses a code word in an email that says, "Well, I really don't have the budget," that tells me you don't think I'm worth it. I mean, I get that a lot, and I've learned to. I don't want to fight with people about budgets. If you're going to come to me and that's the first thing you're going to say in an email, um, I know that I'm not going to, they're not going to be able to do what needs to be done because it's not cheap what we do. And so that's one kind of red flag. There's other ones that are, hey, this is going to be a hit and we expect to sell 1 million records in 6 months. Well, but we don't have a website. You kind of sense, oh, okay, it doesn't matter what I do, that person's not going to be happy. Their expectations are not realistic. So there are things like that are obvious, and some of them are a little more discreet that you pick up on.
Understood. So that would lead me to believe that it's your discernment. While you're having those conversations, you're not only paying attention to what they are saying, but you're also paying attention to what they're not,
Hmm.
and how they present themselves to you, right? And
Absolutely, they are.
and
Yes.
that is something that is a learned trait, but it's also something that a lot of people innately have if they're paying attention. If they're paying attention. Now, I want to know whether or not, okay, because we have been friends for a long time for many reasons. And I believe that one of them is that we are strong personalities and we don't fail.
And we understand each other,
Yes,
and
we do.
we do. It's a no nonsense, just get it done, and there's no excuse. You know, we do well with that.
Mhm,
Um,
mhm.
and I think that's how the way you have to be when you are in business, whether you're male or female, um, or whatever. But there is a goal, and you can't waste your time. Um, I I have had my time wasted in the past a lot, and I've just learned not to pay attention to the people who are going to waste my time anymore.
Have you experienced any gender bias? Because
Yeah,
being
sometimes.
being being us the way that we are, and the fact that we like to start from the end, right? So I don't need to know how you got there. I need to know where you want to go and what our desired end result is. Have you found that being that upfront rubs some people the wrong way? Is it easier to work with women, or are men accommodating for our personality styles, or in your industry has it just not come up and they just go to whoever can get that job done? What is your perspective there?
Well, certainly as my career has progressed, it has been easier. When I was younger, I was the little 20-year-old, blonde-headed, really a go-getter at conferences, and I get, patted on the head or pulled on somebody's lap trying to, "Hey, baby," that type of thing, and that did happen. But all in all, I stood my ground, and I went and I got a master's degree, and I pulled really great projects when I was young, and eventually, people kind of got the, "Huh, oh, uh-oh, she's smart." And certainly I felt in many cases I had to be smarter, than some of the people I was working with. But as I got older, I stand my ground. I think at this point, every now and then I'll get a client where, they might not be taking me seriously, or they think, they can talk over me, or they don't want to listen. Um, I'm not sure if that's necessarily a female male thing, or if it's just the way their management style is, because they could certainly be doing that to other people, of course. But it was more of an issue in being a young lady in the business versus a proven name later on. And I certainly have enjoyed, the later half of that. Um, um, but it is definitely out there. But I think if you bring the goods and you build your army and you are strong and you bring, no one's going to give you really any breaks. You have to bring value to anything you do. And I think that's a big mistake that I see with both males and females, which is, if you're going to be in the room and you're going to be there, no one's going to give you a chance because you're male or female. They're going to give you a chance because you have value. And so I do encourage women, I think, more to have the confidence and the knowledge that, hey, you don't need to go in there asking somebody for a job, or asking, for a favor or a break. What you need to do is build your army and come in as a valuable person. And usually, it's not 100%, but usually you will find you'll be valued.
You just provided something that is in empowering and inspiring. I don't believe in motivating people. I believe that you have to have something burning on the inside first, something, even if it's not a big fire, if there's a spark, if we can see that spark, then the information that we can share with them will actually cause it to grow.
Yeah.
Is there anything that you think would be helpful for someone else out here that actually has that spark, right? Because I won't say that we're at the end stages of what we do because we have so many more years to go. But I also know that there are people who are wanting to do what you do and they
Well,
have
yeah.
that spark. What would you tell them?
I would tell them to continue to seek knowledge, and then not just, formal education. I think an education is very important. I certainly, felt strongly enough about it to continue my education, and I am very glad I did. And I think, though, that some people think because you have a degree, that that entitles you to a certain job or status or anything. The truth is that the education is great, but there's practical education too, and continue to be doing learning things. I mean, when I was younger, and still to this day, I never give up an opportunity to learn something new. I don't. I take on little projects, or I read extra books, or I do extra classes to stay in the now, to keep my mind fresh, so I'm never stuck in a rut. And I think whether you're 18 years old, 16 years old, 25 years old, 30, I think that you have to be continuously educating yourself, and you have to be building a worth. Why is this knowledge important? And you have to be able to apply it, and you have to prove that you can apply it. So getting involved in things sometimes, if I know not everybody can do an internship. I didn't do internships. I was just very fortunate early on that I kind of got swept up really early, but not everybody has those opportunities. Internships are really hard because I don't know how people who are paying their school and trying to pay rent have time to take an internship, but there are certainly, clubs, or there are always opportunities, whether maybe it's not a formal job, but a project you can get involved with that gives you practical applications of what you're doing, so that you can continue that as your career grows.
Understood. Now, that would lead me to think that you don't want to just learn for the sake of learning. You actually have to have some type of a curiosity there.
Yeah, and,
We,
and a reason why you're applying something. I don't just read books on marketing. I read books on how businesses run. I read anything that can help me take what I do and be better at it, or bring in something new, or look at it from a different direction. And it's funny because when I was younger, I'd see like people reading the, Wall Street Journal, or, you know, books about economics or whatever, and I just, rolled my eyes. And now I find myself kind of skimming through and looking around and seeing which countries, are doing this or that. But it's really useful for what I'm doing.
mhm.
And I never thought I would be at that point.
Well, you've continued to put things into what we call your toolbox. You don't want your toolbox to be empty. You don't know what you have, what you don't have, and things might come up. Do you remember Dora the Explorer?
Yeah, a little bit.
And she had a backpack. And for whatever reason, no matter what situation she was in, she was able to talk to said backpack and pull out whatever she needed at that time to solve whatever it is that she was encountering. But the only thing is that if we don't proactively continually add to the backpack or our project management toolbox, then when we see something new, we won't we won't even know it. Now, I am not the ad advertiser or have any affiliation for this particular tech that I'm about to mention, but I was paying attention. And there was a lady in one of the courses that I was giving, and she was writing in something, but it wasn't an iPad, but she still had a pen, but it wasn't regular paper. And so on a break, I said to her, I said, "So what is that?" And she's like, "It's a rocket book." I said, "A rocket book? Interesting." Now, had I known about said rocket book prior to me purchasing an iPad Pro, I would have purchased that because there is new tech, new things that are being built and created. And when you have that curiosity, you're able to say, well, you know what, this client likes this type of thing. Let me just let them know if they know that that thing's out there.
Hmm.
In the industry that you're in, are there new things that are always coming up
Yeah.
that you feel as though, well, I need to know it, so just in case I get said client who needs this special thing, I at least have something to pull. Has anything like that happened recently?
Um, I mean, yeah, I mean, we've been everything going digital and all of the digital platforms changing constantly, and which ones have opportunities for submitting artists for, you know, premieres or a showcase or whatever it may be. It's constantly shifting. And what we knew 6 months ago is not the same of what we know now, not just because of the pandemic, but just because it is that way. But also, just going back, I wanted to add about the curiosity and learning. You know, I think it's important that when you see something like a public speaking workshop, or you see something that's, oh, my local, you know, town or city is doing a startup week, and they have different workshops where you can just listen to people that has nothing to do with marketing. I have my son right now in a TV or a acting class to help with voice recognition, because not recognition, with voice, gosh, what is it? I don't even know the name of it. But it's learning how to do public speaking and how to speak on camera. And the reason I have him doing that is because he's going to have to do speeches in school, and he's going to have to go to college and do a speech, and he's a little shy. And so these are skills that no matter what field he's in, he is going to have to learn to be comfortable. Maybe he's doing an interview on a blog. Maybe he's doing an interview on TV that he needs to learn how to pronunciate, how to speak, how to do these things. And so doing the obvious isn't the only thing you should be doing, but looking at opportunities that help you as a whole grow, build your career, I think is really worth mentioning, because it's important.
Right, right. And it's as if there are just certain things that are transferable. We all have
Yeah.
to speak at some point in time, whether or not we are speaking this way, because I admit I still want to learn how to sign. If there are any viewers out there that are willing to tell me how to sign, I would love to learn how to sign, right? Because we have different people who we work with. There were a couple of shows that I had watched, and I admit I am still all about music, as odd as it might be for the viewers out there, even though I do sing. I have never, in the history of ever, said, Amanda, listen to this. I might send her a happy birthday song, but that's about it. But
That's
there,
true.
there are singers out there that I found this really interesting that can't hear. They're actually deaf, and but they're feeling the music,
Yeah, they can feel it.
and and somehow they're actually hitting all of the notes that they need to hit. What is the most, and I guess I don't really want to say most, what is the project that you had that was that aha, I was shocked by that. This is really, really cool. I didn't even know that this would ever come down my path, because I tell you what, I had no idea that there were professional singers out there that actually couldn't hear. So I can only imagine, with your years of experience, there had to have been at least one aha moment that you've had in this time. What would you say that was?
You know, I've had interesting things happen. I mean, there's been a couple sides. One, on the promotion side, I had an intern once who was deaf, and he wanted to work at my music promotion company, and so I gave him the internship. And um, I know how to sign the alphabet, so I would sign. He actually had an interpreter that would come in with him, you know, the twice a week that he was there. And you know, I found jobs for him, but he we would have the stereo going, and he could hold on to it and hear the music. Um, he he wasn't there that long. I think he got a little bored, but he was there for maybe 2 months, and I think he just kind of was like, "Well, I got to do it and I like the opportunity, but, you know, not for me." But it was neat to have him there. The other thing was, I have a client right now who is blind. He had a brain tumor, he was blind, and he makes amazing music, and he not only does the music, he actively is doing the business. He responds to emails. He is sending me whatever I need to. It's amazing what he does. And then I had another client once who was blind and deaf, and that guy was from Australia, and he got a lot of attention, of course. And he would tour, like they had full tours, and we've had a lot of disabilities, but I think when artists, and I'm not an artist, but I work with them, when they lack one of the senses, they seem to pick up more of another sense. And so it's amazing to see what they end up doing a lot of times. And I try hard to give them that extra chance because, again, they are limited with some of the business side of things that they can do.
You are so inspiring. I am so honored that you took the time to actually speak to not only myself, but to all of our listeners. So I am very thankful for that. I always like to end things with you having the opportunity to ask me anything about project management that you want. You have a
Hmm,
certified project management professional in your midst.
I do.
What do you want to know?
Um, I'll tell you something, and then I'll try to put it as a question. Hardest thing in my job, the hardest thing is not getting the results. It's managing expectations. And I deal in a place where people have their heart and soul into what they're doing, and they're trusting me with their dreams. And sometimes those dreams are pretty big, and they want them in a very short amount of time. And sometimes um, it's very difficult to manage expectations, regardless of, we have formed it, we've put it in writing, we talk about it, and it doesn't necessarily curb those expectations. And so I would love to hear from you how you feel about that, and any advice that you could give on managing expectations.
Definitely, definitely. Well, I will tell you that that is across the board. One of the things that that we do on on this side of the screen is there's something called con, constraints, and you know what they are. You just haven't articulated it in this way because you never had to, right? But there's time, there's the cost, there's the resources, there's the quality, there's the risk, and there's the customer satisfaction. Back in the day, there were only three. Now there's six. Back in the day, we called it an iron triangle. Now we call it the hell of a hexagon.
It is
And
a hell of a hexagon. I
so
agree with that.
so tied to those things, that's actually how you would be starting your conversations. Not like you are telling them what it should be, but you want them to know that these are your constraints. Now, your biggest question for them is what the driving constraint is. Now, will they probably say, I want it all, I
Of
need
course.
everything? And then you would say, each of these
No.
pieces has
Yeah,
a
no.
inverse relationship.
That's right. And that's what we do, is we bring up, well, we can get on the way to these things.
Yeah.
This is how we start to build up to these things.
Phase
That's
one,
exactly what we do.
phase two. I
Phase
knew it.
2,
See,
phase 3.
I had told you, I said, you are probably doing it. You probably already know, but it looks different when it's written down though. That I will say. So in my first conversations, because many of the companies that say that they want a project manager, they have no idea what that means. They have no idea what it is that we do and what we don't do.
So you don't answer those clients by saying, "And you want me to walk on water while I'm at it?" You don't say that, right? I've said that, but maybe that's not too,
You
it
know,
was warranted though.
I I say never be afraid to be you. But I would always list it down, right? Because if prior to us having any brainstorming, prior to us saying, okay, well, what do you want? What are your requirements? I like for them to see that these are those things. So I have risk written down. I have costs written down. I have all these different things written down. And then while I'm with them in our conversations, I will type in what it is that they say, right? And I, of course, do it so that they can see it. So I'm not going to send something after. I need for you to tell me, have I documented it the way that you would like for it to be represented? Now, based upon these items, what's your most important thing, right? So,
Mhm.
example, we are very close to the holidays. And if someone were to get in contact with you November the 15th and say, I need for this to be put on XYZ that is coming
Christmas
out
projects.
in December,
Uh-huh. And we get those phone calls. I
let's
get
do
calls
it.
like December 15th and say, I have a Christmas record. Can you get it played? Like, we start
Ah,
Christmas in July.
Christmas in July.
Christmas in
So
July.
so now when that happens, you could very well say, yes, I can. And then here's that inverse relationship that we were just talking about. So you've just cut my time. So like a balloon, now all everything else is bigger. So it I could do it, but it's going to cost you. I could do it and there might be some risks, right? Not risks that aren't manageable, but this isn't risk free, right? So having those conversations, whereas you already know this, speaking from a place of authority and not caving.
Oh no, we won't. Yeah. I'm not nice. You know, I mean I am nice, but I don't lose my voice, that's for sure. But I will I will say that I love listening to the project management side of things and how you approach those issues and those problems. You know, those are existing and they're never going to go away. It doesn't
Ever.
matter, ever. It's just managing um our part of managing their expectations, of course. But I will say that is the most challenging thing. It's amazing. Getting the results, which seems like the hard part, isn't my hard part. That's the funny thing about it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'd say that's the most challenging thing of what I do during the day. I can get a record on Billboard, I can get a freaking Grammy win, but I'll tell you what,
Mhm,
you know,
mhm.
it's just that. It's
Yeah.
there's a lot of factors that go into what I do on a daily basis, and it's a lot of fun. And I really love that you're doing project management and you've put a word and an explanation of what I've been doing, and it just never really came up until maybe a year or two ago when we were talking about some of this.
Mhm.
And I appreciate that. It's great insight.
And it's fun. Like so many people think that project management is just a bunch of nerds, just a bunch of nerds, and they don't
Well,
get to
we
have
can be a
fun.
little nerdy sometimes, but that's all right.
But it is fun, right? I
Yeah.
I think of it like puzzles. You are putting puzzles together, and some of those puzzles are tied to people, but in the big picture, I love seeing the end result, even if it's a phase one, phase two, phase three.
I'll tell you, there's not a project that's successful that is not without drama. We'll just put it that way.
Mhm.
It doesn't matter what it is. If it gets successful, there's ups and downs, and part of that is just because people are people, and you have to explore different success isn't a direct line.
Right.
It goes around in circles, and when those circles go around and you have those failures and you have those reboots and you have those changes and you have those corrections that go along the way, there is going to be drama, there's going to be emotion, there's going to be people that are upset, but that's the way it is. If it were that easy to have success and it was all smooth riding the whole way, then
I would get bored.
it would be a different world, that's for sure. So we
Mhm.
have to take our wins, and that's why getting to a certain point, just not necessarily speaking about myself, I'm talking about my clients and getting them to a certain point. It was a long hard road to get them there, and it's such a celebration when they do. And that's what makes it worth it. That's what's so much fun, is when you get those moments, you get those milestones. And about an hour ago, I got one of my clients on the debut number 35 on the top 40 chart. So numbers came in a little bit ago, and that's a pretty big milestone for this band, and it's very exciting.
That is so fantastic. And you just said something that we always try to get people to do, but when we're adulting, we don't always do it. And that is to actually celebrate the successes and not just focus in on the challenge.
Yep, and I'll tell you what, in my email to them,
Mhm.
I even said to them, I said, I will read it here. Please go and celebrate, as this is a milestone.
Mm. Yeah,
So I encourage them, because they might not realize it's such a, yeah, I mean, I think they do a little bit, but you know, I reminded them, go have a glass of champagne. That's a nice day.
I
And
love it.
I like giving my clients good news. It
Yes,
makes it a day
yes.
for me too. Yeah.
I love it. I love it. Well, I appreciate your time. I
Thank you.
appreciate you being with us and pouring. And when I say pouring information into not only myself, but our listeners
Well, I
because
hope it's useful. I just want to encourage everybody to keep going, be smart, go after whatever it is your goals are. And when you're valuable and you come in with something that's not just an idea, but something that you can actually do that's of value, you will find the road to that career success gets a lot more defined and easier as you go.
well, thank you so much, Amanda
Thank you.
Alexandrakis. It has been an absolute honor. And everyone
Thanks,
have a
Veronica.
wonderful night. I will see you on the next episode of After Hours Conversations with Veronica. Bye
Good
now.
night.
Loving it.